Shut up and sit down.
Welcome to Current Events with Jon Senne. Facts and fun all in one.
Hello and welcome to Current Events with Jon Senne. Let's just dive right in. The IRS says stimulus payments are to begin next week. This story comes courtesy of CNN. The Internal Revenue Service said Friday that some stimulus payments will start going out next week, starting with people who have filed tax returns for 2018 or 2019 and authorized direct deposit. That's key. The first round of direct deposit payments will be made automatically to qualifying taxpayers. Social Security beneficiaries will also receive their payments automatically. Those payments will go out, quote-unquote, in the near future, said the IRS on Friday. The payments will go to all Americans making less than $75,000 as an individual or $150,000 for a joint return. But these payments start to phase out for Americans who earn more than $75,000 as an individual or $150,000 as a joint return. The payments phase out completely for single filers with incomes exceeding $99,000 per year, head of household filers with income exceeding $136,500 per year that also have a child, or for joint filers with no children, the threshold would be $198,000. Anything greater than that would receive no payment at all. In other news, China signals an end to dog meat consumption by humans. This, courtesy of The Guardian. Now, the Chinese government has signaled an end to the human consumption of dogs, with the Agriculture Ministry today releasing a draft policy that would forbid canine meat. This, of course, comes amid the COVID-19 crisis largely believed to have started in the so-called wet markets in Wuhan. The wet markets are a fancy way of saying meat markets for anything you find or fish. Citing the quote-unquote progress of human civilization, as well as growing public concern over animal welfare and prevention of disease transmission from animals to humans, China's Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Affairs singled out canines as forbidden in a draft whitelist of animals allowed to be raised for meat. This comes as Chinese officials are still blaming the U.S. for the COVID-19 outbreak, though less publicly. In election news, Joe Biden is the presumptive Democratic nominee to face Donald Trump in the 2020 presidential election. Senator Bernie Sanders ended his presidential campaign on Wednesday, clearing Joe Biden's path to the Democratic nomination in a showdown with President Donald Trump in November. Bernie first made the announcement in a call with his staff, later saying publicly, quote, "I wish I could give you better news, but I think you know the truth. And that is that we are now some 300 delegates behind Vice President Biden, and the path toward victory is virtually impossible." Sanders claims to have won the ideological battle, though he did not win the battle at the ballot box. This week, a Reuters Ipsos poll found President Donald Trump's approval rating in response to the handling of COVID-19 had dipped to 42%, down from 48% the week before. President Trump's overall approval rating was at 40%, close to where it has been for much of his presidency. Perhaps more worrying for Trump are his dwindling numbers in a matchup against Joe Biden. CNN found that Biden leads Trump 53% to 42% among registered voters nationwide. Though, it is worth mentioning that Donald Trump trailed former candidate Hillary Clinton in virtually every poll leading up to and including election night in the 2016 presidential election. All right, here we go with just sports. It's like getting the newspaper delivered, but only the interesting part. In the news, the Wisconsin Badgers seniors won't return to spring sports in 2021, says the University of Wisconsin Athletic Department. This comes from Madison.com. The university cited, quote, "a time of unprecedented uncertainty in college athletics," saying, "What we try to do is encourage our seniors to go ahead and, if you're going to graduate, graduate and move on with your life. We appreciate everything that you've done, but move forward. The future is in question, and we can't promise you anything." That comes off as a bit harsh, I must say. Now, I'm not a Wisconsin fan. I'm not really opposed to Wisconsin necessarily on the college level. But man, So the NCAA Division I Council on March 30th approved an extension of eligibility for athletes in spring sports whose 2020 season ended because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Financial aid rules were relaxed as part of the decision, and schools were allowed to tap into an NCAA fund to help pay for increased scholarships for returning seniors. So, what that means essentially is that these universities had the ability and even the funding to bring back seniors at little to no cost. The decision even allowed schools to decide not to grant financial aid at the same level as previously provided to those who chose to return, essentially leaving any university off the hook, short of a little bad PR if they shorted a scholarship. It is worth saying that scholarships are given at the discretion of the university and may be revoked at any time, so these athletes aren't necessarily owed anything. But it's fair to say that they may feel a little shortchanged when they work so hard to get their scholarship in the first place, only to be forcefully forfeited the last full year or half a year of eligibility. For many of these athletes, this is their platform to show the world what they're capable of. This is their last chance to prove that they can make it into big leagues. Now, it looks like it was about 35 senior athletes who were affected by this. And of those, I'm sure only a small percentage would even have a shot at a professional sports career. However, it doesn't really take away from the crassness with which Wisconsin handled this, saying furthermore, quote, "We made the decision to not pursue waivers that would extend the eligibility of our senior student athletes. Student athletes in their fourth year of eligibility have concluded their careers with us." Now, I don't mean to criticize Wisconsin all that much, because I'm sure they're not the only school who will do this. They're just the biggest. My critique truly is with the business of college sports, and the student athletes who get left out when the money isn't on the table for the big wigs who pocket it. Let's see more semi-pro sports. Let's see more of the XFL. If college won't let you play for free, man, I wish somebody would pay you to play for fun. Up next, coming from ESPN, Brandin Cooks traded to the Texans from the Rams. This comes several weeks after Bill O'Brien, the head coach and acting GM of the Texans, traded away their superstar, one of the top 3 wide receivers in the league, DeAndre Hopkins, for an average running back and a bag of flamin' hot Cheetos. In all fairness, it was a second-round draft pick, and draft picks are incredibly valuable. But come on, DeAndre Hopkins, generational talent. Reminds me of a young Larry Fitzgerald. And coincidentally, now he gets to play with Larry Fitzgerald. So the Rams get a second-round pick, and they get out of the Brandin Cooks contract. And the Texans got Brandin Cooks and a 4th-round pick. So this looks bad for both teams. This comes for the Rams after releasing Todd Gurley in the offseason after signing him to a massive extension for essentially what amounted to personality issues, a lack of fit within the team on a culture level. And now Brandin Cooks, who was also handed a massive extension, which paid him $42 million in its first 2 years. By the way, Brandin Cooks has had some injuries. He's had some concussions. He's missed some games. He's also known to be a bit of a one-trick kind of guy. He's incredibly fast. Not much else he's known to do. He's been through 2 phenomenal head coaching systems with Sean Payton and with Bill Belichick, Saints, Patriots. Both of those guys passed on him. What does that tell you? Nice player, has a fit, at the right price. Neither of these teams got him at the right price. The Rams, obviously, way overpaid, and they should have known better. Clearly, they should have known better. And now, based on the way they handled it, if they had traded him before March 15th, they would have had $4 million saved. But instead, because they waited, they will have a total now of $21.8 million in dead money just for Brandin Cooks. And if you count the Todd Gurley contract in there, $33 million in dead money against the cap. $33 million of players that they can't pay. That's the best quarterback in the league's salary right there. That's the best wide receiver, the best running back, and a really nice linebacker all put together. There's their salary, put into bad decisions by the Rams. Now, the Texans and Bill O'Brien, of course, can justify the situation by saying that we couldn't afford to pay DeAndre Hopkins long term. Deshaun Watson is going to need a contract soon as well. Now, the fans may accept that. But how are you going to explain that to Deshaun Watson? In a what have you done for me lately league, the Texans have not done much to protect Deshaun Watson. They haven't done much to get weapons for Deshaun Watson. And now they gave away one of the clear-cut top 3 receivers in the league. A safety net, a blanket, a friend for Deshaun Watson. Bill O'Brien just doesn't seem to be on the same page with his players. And you can't tell me that that's not the case. Deshaun Watson, after the DeAndre Hopkins trade, liked a couple tweets that were a little bit suggestive, let's just say, as to whether or not he was actually happy with the Texans. And what does it matter if you pay your quarterback $40, $50 million a year if he isn't happy? Maybe Bill O'Brien has a master plan that I don't know about. I am not a football genius, I'll be the first to tell you that. The man knows much, much more than me, and he is able so far to maintain, at the very least, the GM, the head coach, and the offensive coordinator position, all on his own. Will it be successful long term? That is the question, isn't it? Now, it's also only fair for me to note that I love Deshaun Watson. I've loved him since the first time I saw him, which admittedly was his championship game, his last play of his college career in the national championship, playing for Clemson against Alabama, when he had 1 second left on the clock in the fourth quarter with a 4th and goal, and he threw the game-winning touchdown. That's all I needed to know, that I wanted him as my quarterback. But my GM, Ryan Pace, fell in love with Mitch Trubisky. Here we are, signing Nick Foles in the offseason. So when I talk poorly of any GM, I have to take it with a grain of salt that my own personal GM blew his chance to have not just Deshaun Watson, but let's not forget who else was in that draft. Old Patty Mahomes, the man himself, Super Bowl champion and former MVP. So it looks like UFC 249 was cursed after all. Today, Dana White went on the record saying that UFC 249 and all other subsequent UFC events would be indefinitely suspended. Dana White clarified that this was not his decision, and that the decision had come directly from the highest of authorities at Disney and ESPN. In today's day and age, the TV companies hold all the power, that's for sure. Dana told ESPN's Breck Okamoto, quote, "Today we got a call from the highest level you can go at Disney and the highest level at ESPN. And the powers that be there asked me to stand down and not do this event next Saturday." Dana was clear that this was not his idea, saying, quote, "I can go next week. So whenever my partner gives me the thumbs up that they're ready to go, I'm ready to go." Dana also went on the record to confirm rumors that the fight was to take place at Tachi Palace on tribal land in Southern California. This, of course, was done with the intention to skirt regulation and the California State Athletic Commission's shutdown on all combat-related events until May 31st due to the coronavirus. Dana also said, quote, "It's been a battle since day one. We've been fighting nonstop all day and all night since the pandemic started to put on this event on April 18th. Tachi Palace in California, the Indian reservation, has had our back this whole time, has stood their ground, and was willing to do this fight. And let me tell you this, when the world gets back to normal California, that fight will be at Tachi Palace." Dana also went on the record to confirm the rumored existence of Fight Island. If you think that sounds a lot like a movie, you're right. There are several with that exact plot line, the most recent which I remember being DOA Dead or Alive, based on the classic combat video game by Tecmo. So just when things got crazy with UFC 249 and the UFC lightweight title picture, they got even crazier all over again. I, for one, was incredibly disappointed that Khabib Nurmagomedov was not going to be facing Tony Ferguson after all. I was actually upset with the fact that either Justin Gaethje or Tony Ferguson had to essentially give away their title shot with this fight, being that both of these gentlemen are fighters I want to see go against Khabib, and at some point in the near future it likely would have happened either way. Tony Ferguson had already secured his shot at the title, a well-deserved one, the 5th time he had done so, and let's hope he gets that 6th. But Justin Gaethje was separately building his legend, his case for a championship fight, which is exactly why he was tabbed to replace Khabib when Khabib was trapped in Russia and forced off the UFC 249 card. Now it remains to be seen what the UFC and Dana White decide. Will Khabib fight Tony Ferguson as originally planned? Will the UFC still go with the Tony Ferguson vs. Justin Gaethje main event as a title eliminator and an interim championship bout? Is this just the UFC's clever way to clear the field for Conor McGregor to get an easy shot at Khabib? It's tempting to think so, being that Justin Gaethje was mentioned as a likely opponent for McGregor in the near future, and once we settle Tony vs. Khabib, they are the next two in line for the title, barring any unforeseen developments. So we'll see what happens. We'll see when the UFC is able to hold their next event, whether or not it is before Ramadan, which would therefore disqualify Khabib from competition for the next 2 to 3 months. And we'll find out whether or not Tony vs. Khabib truly is cursed after all. But let me tell you my ideal scenario. My ideal is, of course, that Khabib vs. Tony goes on as planned. Now, it doesn't matter who wins that fight, and I can't really make a pick, but I will tell you, as everyone else will, if anyone poses a true threat to Khabib and his undefeated championship reign, it's Tony El Kukui Ferguson. Tony's unpredictable style and psychopathic intensity make him a challenge that Khabib truly has not faced yet. And Khabib has acknowledged this. He has said over and over again that he wants to fight Tony for legacy. I agree. Tony is a legacy fight. But this could be a fight for Tony's legacy. Don't count Tony out. 11 straight victories don't come from nothing, and not in the way that he did it either. 9 finishes, submissions, knockouts, TKOs, any way you can beat a man, Tony Ferguson does it. And to quote Joe Rogan, when you leave a fight with Tony Ferguson, you look like you fell off a train. Tony Ferguson doesn't show up to fight you. Tony Ferguson shows up to kill you in combat. And the only thing stopping him from doing that is the referee that placates him by handing him a belt that satisfies this savage for a time, and therefore saves your life. Now, that's not to take anything away from Khabib, the man known to wrestle bears from a child. Khabib has been in fights with Michael Johnson, Edson Barboza, holding their face with one hand and punching it with the other while he tells them, I need this. I need you to quit. I need to destroy you. The championship is mine. I deserve it. And he's right. This is a fight where there is no losing. Both men have an equal claim to be champion, and the only way to settle it is for them to face. Lord, please, don't take this one away from us. Not a 6th time. After that, I would hope in July, which is International Fight Week, the UFC's largest event, I would like to see Conor McGregor square off with Justin the Highlight Gaethje. And for multiple reasons. One, because it's bound to be a good fight. Neither one of these men show up just to have a fight and win a decision. They show up to blow the roof off the place. They show up to make money, and the way to make money in the UFC is violent action. That's what both of these gentlemen bring to the table, in much different ways. Conor McGregor, Mystic Mac, the world-renowned, the notorious. We all know what he does. He's a counter-striker with an aggressive demeanor. You see, he uses his pinpoint accuracy and exceptional power to pressure you into positions that you do not want to be in. These positions force you into mistakes, which are opportunities for McGregor. And Conor McGregor is a man of opportunity. Conor's vision is his most valuable tool. He sees the opening and he does not hesitate. He pulls the trigger. This has never been more evident than his first UFC championship victory against the legend Jose Aldo, who at the time was undefeated for 7 or 8 years, who looked like an immovable object atop the UFC featherweight division. However, the irresistible force was about to come. Conor McGregor ended the legend of Jose Aldo after one mistake and 13 seconds of their UFC championship fight. One punch was all it took for Conor to announce himself as king. Justin Gaethje is a different kind of warrior, a different kind of beast, one who walks barefoot on nails through a wall of fire just to get to the fight. Taking Justin Gaethje out of a fight is like taking a fish out of water. Fighting sustains the highlight. Now, for those of you who don't know who Justin Gaethje is, please go to YouTube and type in Justin Gaethje, Gaethje, highlights. Sit back and enjoy. Justin is a fighter's fighter if I have ever seen one. He walks forward and he throws bombs. He uses kicks simply with the intention to open you up for him to throw more bombs, and he will eat shots to throw bombs at you. He will eat 3 shots to land 1 bomb, because he believes that the bombs on his right and left hand are Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and all it takes is one to blow you off the map. And he can do this walking forward without threat of the takedown, because he himself is a highly accomplished college wrestler. His takedown defense is great. Not that you have to worry about that with McGregor anyways. Justin Gaethje at 21-2 and Conor McGregor at 22-4 sit at number 3 and 4 respectively in the UFC lightweight rankings, with only Dustin Poirier sitting somewhere between them and the top 2 of the division. Conor McGregor has already defeated Dustin Poirier by knockout way back in the UFC featherweight division. Gaethje, however, was KO'd by Poirier, but Dustin Poirier did just lose a championship match to Khabib last year, so likely he's out of title contention for at least 2 or 3 more fights. So what that means is, after Tony and Khabib, Conor and Justin Gaethje are the next 2 in line to claim a shot at the title. They should fight. We should sort this out. We also need to test Conor McGregor. Now, I know the UFC likes to protect him as their golden boy. He is their cash cow. He can only lose so many fights, and if he's going to lose, it has to be incredibly valuable for the company and for the person he's losing to. It has to make sense for them on a global business scale. It has to make sense for the brand. You can't just lose McGregor unless you replace him with Khabib, the undefeated legend, one who is likely to go down as one of the greatest mixed martial artists of all time. It is incredibly risky for the UFC to put on a fight between Conor McGregor and Justin Gaethje. However, Justin Gaethje's style does make him a good matchup for McGregor. He walks forward. Conor McGregor counter-strikes with incredibly powerful shots. Conor's also a southpaw. Gaethje was KO'd by a southpaw, Dustin Poirier, a man who McGregor actually KO'd himself. So from the perspective of the UFC, this could be a win-win. The appearance from the outside is that Justin Gaethje is a monster. However, his style makes him a good matchup for Conor McGregor. Therefore, put on the fight. Let him duke it out. McGregor's dangerous. You cannot take that away from him. He very likely would win the fight. It's really a split down the middle, but if I had to pick, I would have to pick McGregor, unfortunately. And not because Justin Gaethje is not good enough, but simply because Conor is exceptional. He's shown that. A motivated Conor McGregor is one of the most dangerous individuals for about the first 8 minutes of a fight that you're ever going to find. However, the chaos that Justin Gaethje brings to the table will certainly make it interesting, at the very least. It would be guaranteed chaos and excitement. And isn't that what the UFC is all about? And then you get the added bonus that if McGregor wins, he has an undisputed case to fight Khabib again, especially when Khabib, undefeated at 28-0, has repeatedly said that he is not interested in fighting Conor. The UFC, of course, wants to make this fight for the money involved. Khabib is more concerned with legacy. He has said previously he could throw $50 million at him and still, what is money compared to legacy? Conor needs a major victory to justify another title shot in the eyes of loyal UFC fans, though the casual user never seems to mind if Conor skips the line. So that would be the perfect situation, a sort of informal UFC lightweight title tournament. Khabib vs. Tony, Conor vs. Justin Gaethje in the first round. Winners will fight in the finals to determine who truly is the most dangerous man in the UFC lightweight division. As Khabib would say, this one's for legacy. So my question for you is, in a fight between Justin Gaethje and Conor McGregor, who wins, how, and why? What do you think will make the difference in the fight? Will it be Justin Gaethje's wrestling ability? Will it be Conor McGregor's left hand? Let me know in the comments below. And we have an update to this living, breathing story. It turns out Governor of California Gavin Newsom himself was involved in the pressure to shut down UFC 249. Word on the street is that Gavin Newsom reached out directly to Disney, the parent company of ESPN, which holds broadcasting rights for the UFC. Governor Newsom reached out to Disney executives to request that they put pressure on Dana to cancel the event. Circumventing Governor Newsom's authority with the stay-at-home order was not good for any of the parties involved. Disney, being a family company, came to the same conclusion, and Dana White, being a smart businessman, canceled UFC 249, begrudgingly. That is the update, and we look forward to UFC 249 going on in hopefully the near future, and hopefully with Tony Ferguson versus Khabib Nurmagomedov as originally planned.
This has been Current Events with Jon Senne. Facts and fun, all in one.
Thank you for joining me, and I want to encourage you to please give me feedback. I want to know what you want to talk about. I want to know what you want to hear. If you have an idea or would like to be a guest on the podcast, contact me through the comments or direct message or at mymarketadviser.com. Jon Senne listens to the people, and I can't wait to hear from you.